Everyone. Hello. Everyone, Brett Favre, everyone.
You know, they didn't show the best pass I think I've ever made.
Which one?
And it happened to be one that Wesley caught. It was in actually the Oakland game. Threw it in the corner of the end zone. He made two old guys made it look easy.
Nice to have that. We're going to talk to you a little bit about the time you played the Panthers. Well, a couple times. One was in the playoffs. But Reggie White, we just heard from Jeremy there. What did Reggie White mean in your life?
Well, Jeremy's wrong. We won the Super Bowl because of Reggie White. And I'll argue anyone to that point. When Ron Wolf traded for Reggie, of course he was sought after from so many teams. And then he signed a blockbuster deal at the time for it was 4 years, $16 million, which now is, kickers go. I just had to throw that in there.
Oh yeah,
but
they know.
But when we acquired Reggie, things changed dramatically, and he, being a non-skilled player, it's hard to really change the outcome of a game or the dynamics of a game. And Reggie could do that, and he did it, and he did it over and over again. And that Super Bowl was a perfect example. He was doubled and triple teamed. And, I'm sure people watching at home or in the stadium are like, I hadn't heard Reggie White. Well, he's not playing very well. Well, it's getting double and triple teamed. But when they decided that they were handling him pretty good and they decided to block him one-on-one, big mistake. And he had, I think, 3 sacks in a row and sealed the game for us. So, and what a tremendous teammate. I don't know how well you got to know him, Wes, but for the people in this room who really got to know him, he was the most fun guy to be around, to be so imposing, which was kind of weird. And I have to tell you, one of my favorite Reggie White stories, we were in training camp and we had a guy who was trying to make the team. His name was Mirko Jurkovic. His brother was actually our starting nose tackle. Well, Mirko came from Notre Dame. He was a 3rd or 4th round pick, so likely to make the team, and he's trying to prove his worth, and he's playing right tackle, and Reggie rushes. Not really hard. In practice, you don't really, Reggie, if he really rushed like he did in the game, we'd get nothing done. So he kind of half rushes, and Mirko grabs him and tackles him. And I was back there in the back, 2nd or 3rd quarterback was taking reps, and Reggie gets up off the ground and he says, "Mirko, don't be holding me." Mirko says, "F you, Reggie." Reggie goes, "Okay." "Oh, you're gonna remember that." So the very next play, he collapses. He starts with Mirko, and all 5 offensive linemen are knocked down, and it just is a disaster. And Mirko gets up, and Reggie says, "Now God loves you, but don't ever hold me again."
And for those who remember that voice, that sounds exactly like Reggie White's voice. It really does. Just to add a little context, because you all know the name Brett Favre and you're all big football fans, but just for those who may not know, it would take 20 years, which he played in the league, to read all the things he's done, but just a couple. Super Bowl champion, 2 Super Bowls they played in with the Packers, Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2010, 3-time league MVP in consecutive years, 3 years, 11-time Pro Bowl. When he retired, Brett Favre was the NFL's leader in passing yards, passing touchdowns, quarterback wins, among things. And this one's the best one, I think, maybe. I mean, you have to win to make this happen. 297 consecutive games he started regular season, 321 counting playoffs, of any position player. That's a record. How you held up all that time is amazing. How close did you come at certain times to not being able to keep on going, do the Cal Ripken, do the Lou Gehrig thing?
Well, it's funny because as I look back, I probably was closer than I thought when I was in the moment. Somewhere within the 6 or 7 years I played for Mike Holmgren, he decided to call me John Wayne. Well, actually, he called me two names. It depended on how I was playing. It was John Wayne or Billy Bob. And you can kind of figure which one was which. And I never purposely played, just to prove to people I was John Wayne. I genuinely loved to play. And I thought, and this is in all honesty, I really thought after playing with an injury or going into a game like with a severely sprained high ankle sprain or a broken thumb on my throwing hand, which to me really, as I look back, I go, what? I thought, what was the big deal? Playing with why is everyone making a big deal of this? I mean, you mean people don't play with a broken thumb on a throwing hand? No, they don't. So I think, and this is the truth, of all the injuries that I've played with that were potentially going to keep me out the following week, I always played my best after that. I had, with a broken thumb and a splint on my thumb, the best 9-game stretch in my career at that point. So, but I like I tell guys all the time, it's if you feel like you can play, and Mahomes would be a good example. Only he knows if he can play and be effective. I say if you think you can, give it a shot. You can always come out first, second play and say, I just can't do this, but you may surprise yourself.
So you grew up in small town Mississippi, which I'm going to guess is you're at a school where you're playing all the sports, you're playing football at all the positions, and your team's running the wishbone on offense, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get discovered as a quarterback growing up in a small town, playing for a high school that's so small and you don't even throw the football?
That's a good question. I often wondered if my dad was wanting me to stay home and work on the farm. Or actually,
he was your head coach, right?
He was my head coach. I said, Dad, we need to throw. We'll throw when I say we throw. Now, I'm actually being very friendly. He said it a little more harsh than that. As we rode it in the Dodge D50 home from practice, I would say, Dad, I'm not going to get a scholarship if we don't throw. Oh, hell, you'll be fine. You can play. They'll find you. And if he were here today, he would say, told you.
He was right.
But when this was back when, if you wanted to see tape, I think it was VHS, VCR, and I'm sure some of you still have them in your house like we do, even though you don't use them. But coaches would come in and say, hey, who do you have that we need to take a look at? And this is the truth. And he would say, well, my son's a good player. And I was bigger. I can't say I was faster, but just in our county, I was a better baseball player. I think I was a better football player than most. I played all the positions, as you said. And I could throw it about 80 yards. Now, did you ever throw it that far in a game? Usually if you do, it's because you're down and you have to win on the last play. But Dad would say, you need to come watch my son in pregame. Now, who says that? What's wrong with the game? Okay. Well, we don't throw in the game. We throw pregame, and he'll probably throw a couple of 80. And that's honestly how I got noticed. The offensive line coach from Southern Miss just happened to be there at a pregame and said, damn, this kid can throw. And the rest is history.
So you went to a program that was the only one that offered you a scholarship, right? Southern Miss. And they wanted you to play what position?
Well, I was a defensive back the first few days. I know. I wouldn't be here speaking with you right now. But the first few days I was a defensive back / quarterback. And I was decent at the time. I moved a lot better than I do now. But I was not going to make it as a cover corner. So there were 7 quarterbacks on the depth chart. And of course, you can figure where I was. Let me back up a couple of days. I go in and they said, what number you want? And I said, I'd like 10. Taken. I said, what else you got? Take 4 and like it. I said, 4 sounds good. Yeah. So the third day I got a chance to go against, they put me in as a scout team quarterback, and that was kind of how I played. You just turn it loose, draw them up in the dirt, and I ran around and made some plays, and kind of like I got noticed in high school. Eyebrows were raised, and a couple of guys got hurt, a few guys didn't play very well, and the rest is history.
And you play well enough at Southern Miss that you get drafted in the second round, not by Green Bay, that would be year 2. Not everyone knows where you started, but it was the Atlanta Falcons. Do we like the Falcons here? No. So your first year, you're an Atlanta Falcon for 1 year. Do you remember what your stats were that year?
What my stats were?
Yeah, you had very limited stats. Do you know what they were?
My first pass was a touchdown.
Your first one? Regular season?
To the other team.
I was going to say.
I was in the playoffs against the Redskins, and actually, it was a really good throw. Went right through my guy's hands.
Yeah.
And believe me, I've had my share that I can't brag on. I'm gonna brag on this one. This was a good throw, and it hit their guy in stride for a touchdown. But you know, the interesting thing about that, and I know he's here. I saw him earlier. Tony Smith, my college teammate, great player. There's only been 2 first-round draft picks in the history of Southern Miss football. Tony Smith is one, deservingly so, great player. And Ray Guy was a great punter, Hall of Fame. Tony Smith was drafted in the first round by Atlanta the year after I was there. Green Bay traded their first-round pick to Atlanta, who used that pick to get Tony Smith. So, most people don't know that, but I had a chance to see Tony prior, and what a great teammate he was. He definitely was deserving of first-round pick.
So Atlanta does what Atlanta does. They sit Brett Favre on the bench. That first year, 0 for 4, 2 interceptions and a sack were your numbers. They trade you to Green
Not
Bay.
bad.
We've already clarified one of the picks, not your fault.
I mean, it was good enough that I got traded for a first-round pick, right?
So you're essentially a first-round pick. You got traded for a first-round pick. You go to Green Bay for 16 years. What was it like? There's a lot of Packer fans here, but for those of us who live here in the sunny South like you did growing up, what's it like to be a part of Packer Nation? What is that fan base like?
Awesome. I can't honestly say at 21 I knew what to expect. Obviously now I'm looking back, I can speak volumes on what it was like. Wesley got to experience it. We got to experience it together. It's special. And all you got to do is look at the LA teams who have tried and failed. They're building new stadiums, but yet they can't fill them. There's millions and millions of people that drive past that stadium probably every day and couldn't tell you who plays in it. But yet you go to Green Bay and there's 75,000, maybe 100,000, including the surrounding areas. Not a whole lot more if you include the whole state. But there's a 40-year waiting list for, and it may actually be higher now, for a season ticket. People would give anything to go see a game. And the worse the conditions, the better the fans are. It's a fan. I'm not surprised that the majority of the people here are not Packer fans. Over Carolina fans. I could probably go to every NFL city and do this and get kind of the same reaction. So it's special. There's nothing like it.
So 1996 was our second season. Somehow the Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars in their second year of existence both reached the conference championship games. America's awaiting a Carolina-Jacksonville Super Bowl. We have to settle for the Patriots and the Packers, as it would turn out, because we go to Green Bay. I think we lose 30-13, something like that. What are your recollections of that conference championship?
It was colder than hell.
It was colder.
I remember going out in pregame, and I remember a lot about the Carolina team. They had compiled a lot of older, experienced, very good football players, and that's why they got to where to where they were at the end of the season. Guys like Kevin Green and Sam Mills, Lamar Lathon, their defense was outstanding. But I remember going out in pregame, and it was like 30 below wind chill. And I know it sounds like, yeah, right, it was 30 below wind chill. It was 30 below wind chill. And Kevin Green and all the defensive guys had no shirts on or no sleeves. And I thought, oh, we're in trouble. I had sleeves on. I had salve all over me. I enjoy playing, but there becomes a limit, where you go, all right, this is kind of past my threshold. But it seemed to, and maybe it was like, and you got to know Kevin. For those who know Kevin, I could see Kevin going in the locker room saying, all right, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out there in pregame. We're not going to put any sleeves on. In fact, I'm not going to wear a shirt. And I could see like some of those other guys like, man, you crazier than hell. But that's what they did. And early in the game, it was one of those games where this is not going like we had hoped. And then I hit a couple of passes and we got ahead and their season was over, but it was a magical season for them. But we were destined that year.
Yeah, you guys won 2 touchdowns over the Patriots in that Super Bowl. I was there. So we did the game. I go down to the locker room. I didn't realize our Panther locker room was detached from the stadium. So I just went down in a shirt, standing out there. I think I'm going down some elevator, standing outside in that -30, just wearing a shirt for half an hour, waiting for the Panthers locker room to open up afterwards.
Wasn't that bad, was it?
No, it wasn't that bad. It's not that bad at all. You beat us the next couple of years after that, too, by the way. 97, 98, you guys would beat us again. And the video they showed, this is one of those hallmark moments, that 2003 Monday night game against the Raiders. You played the day after your dad passed away. And in the first half, 4 touchdown passes, 250 yards in the first half of that game. Were you just semi-conscious? What were your feelings? You had to be somewhat numb, I would think. What was it like?
Yeah, I was numb. Wesley, of course, was on our team and had a ball playing with Wesley. I just wish we'd gotten to play more than 1 year together. He was a tremendous player, not only that year for us, but for so many years. And we were out there for two days. My dad dies. We have a chance the night before the game. So Sunday night, I asked to speak to the team, and really that's kind of a blur. I just remember talking to the team and the team rallying around me. I mean, if there was any doubt that the guys didn't like me or didn't, appreciate me, that was all squashed at that time. I mean, there's no doubt we won because of of all the games I played in. We were not going to lose that game. Regardless of how I played, we were not going to lose that game. But yeah, I was numb, and it's funny because I've talked about this game comes up a lot, so I've reflected on it a lot. I think one of the comments I made after the game on the field was I never considered myself overly religious or Christian. I am a Christian. I do believe in Jesus Christ, and at times I haven't acted as such. And of course, we all can point to different times in our life, but I prayed so much in that day and a half. I knew I was going to play. That wasn't the issue. I wanted to play and honor my dad. This was my chance. This is it. This is my chance to honor him. And it was kind of like short notice, so I was praying for strength and God, I want to play. I want to win, but I want to play. I just don't want to play. And people say, well, what do you expect? I mean, he's playing after his dad died. I mean, he couldn't play that well. I didn't want to hear that. We had to win to go to the playoffs or have a shot for the playoffs. And then we had to win the following week and get some help from another team. So this was an important game. So I prayed and prayed and prayed. And I think we all at different times have prayed for a sign. You know, God, just show me you're real. You know, come out of the clouds, or, you know, just speak to me or whatever. And what I realized years after that game was I got the sign. It was just right in front of me. The sign was how I played, because I couldn't remember the game plan. In pregame, Doug Peterson, who was my good friend and backup, we were tossing in pregame, and I couldn't complete a 10-yard pass, just toss. I was throwing it, bouncing it on the ground, throwing it over his head. And I talk about that pass I made to Wesley. You know, if you're not really familiar with how hard it is to do certain things in the sport, that was one of the hardest passes to ever complete. And it had to, as my dad used to say, drop in like a butterfly with sore feet. I mean, it had to come in there, you know, soft and perfect. And yet I made the throw. And he made a tremendous catch, laid out for it. But there's just things that happen in that game. Statistically, you know, at one time I had every record in the NFL and never threw, I think I threw for 400 yards once in my career. You know, that's kind of crazy. So I wasn't a really statistical, you know, guy. You didn't expect 6 touchdowns week in, week out. You didn't expect 500 yards. So at halftime to be at basically 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, in some of the best throws I've made in my career, not knowing the game plan, it was definitely a sign. So, and I know I've talked a lot about today about that, but I just think it's important to note that sometimes the signs that we ask for are right there in front of us, and we never see them.
It's a great story. John Wayne couldn't do that, by the way. So that was an amazing performance.
No, he couldn't make that throw. I can tell you that. See,
he
ride a horse.
Broken-footed butterfly. You get it? So you retire. They're moving into the Aaron Rodgers era there. You come back out of retirement. They move you to the Jets, and then you do 2 years with the Vikings. What was that like to play for a division rival after 16 years of Packers love to go, not only play, but play well? You guys go 12-4 and take the Saints to overtime, almost go to the Super Bowl.
Well, it was weird to play for a division rival, but it was so good to beat Green Bay. And this has been well documented. If you put yourself in my shoes at the time, you know, I'm sure people are like, oh, I can't believe he would say that. But if you were in my position where the team said, you're not good enough to play for us, but you're too good to play against us, was basically what they said. Like, we'll trade you anywhere but to someone who's going to play us. And I thought, and that hurt. It really hurt. So I got traded to the Jets and had an okay year, tore my bicep, just kind of like added insult to injury, you know, like, you know, I'll never get a chance to play against the Packers. And I just wanted to redeem myself, and ended up getting let go by the Jets. Went and had surgery by Dr. Andrews, and felt great. Minnesota picked me up, and I said, oh, hell, here we go. So it was weird, you know, because for so many years we played in the Metrodome and had very little success. In fact, the year we won the Super Bowl, we lost, as we did so many times over there. I hated playing there. It was a tough environment. And it was sort of nice to be on the other side and be quiet in there when we had the ball. But it was, that first year it was really an electric year. You know, I mean, I'll always be remembered as a Packer, as it should be. And I love the Packer fans. I loved everything about Green Bay. But that one magical year, Minnesota was special.
Overtime against the Saints. You played so well in that one. I'm going to ask about 2 more questions. Then I want Wesley Wallace to ask a question of his friend. And then I'll let you guys chime in maybe 2, 3 questions, and we'll let Brett go. So one of my 2 is, what did it feel like to go back to Green Bay at the end of your career, have that number 4 jersey retired there, and be welcomed back into that stadium?
It was so awesome because I'll be honest with you, I was very nervous. It's the first time back in Green Bay since I walked out of the visitors' locker room, and I said that. I was very, very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. The last time I was there, it was not very good. So, will they receive me well? Will they, get past me playing with Minnesota? All these questions, ran through my mind. And when I walked out onto Lambeau, and there's not a game, but there's 78,000 people in the stands to watch me say thank you and be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I mean, what else can I say? I mean, for one person to get that type of response and respect was truly amazing.
Says everything. You're actually not that old. You're what, 50, I think? 50-ish?
50, you're right, 50.
So you have 2 daughters.
You can take the ish off.
50 on the nose.
As of last
That will not
Thursday.
be one of our trivia questions. We'll have some trivia questions at the end for prizes. So you're 50 years old. You have 2 daughters. Is it true that you're the only known, at that time, active NFL player that was also a grandfather at the same time?
That's what I heard. I'm sure there's probably some that didn't brag on it. You know what I mean? Or some that didn't know. I knew I was a grandfather.
They haven't met their grandchildren.
It was a little awkward. Paul at 41. But hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, I want to open up for a couple questions here since I've been doing these here. Wesley, I don't have really a microphone for you. If you want to just use your football voice and yell out what you got.
The same can be said for Wesley. I mean, he looks great. Mississippi boys, I tell you. Yeah, I don't know if everyone could hear what Wesley, what he asked or was talking about. Basically talking about what most of the talk has been in the last few years about concussions and life after, and in some cases, presently. You don't have to be 75 to have problems with concussions. We're finding here as of late or recent. It can happen to a 35-year-old. It can happen to a 21-year-old. What we don't know a lot about concussions, but I was approached my second year out of retirement. I was approached by a friend of mine who's basically a brain surgeon in Hattiesburg about meeting with this guy named Jake Van Landingham, who was I can't even pronounce it, the head of neuro science, whatever, at Florida State University, and had developed this product for treating concussions. And would you listen in? So I said, yeah, sure. And I'll be honest with you, there wasn't a lot of talk at the time about concussions and the seriousness. And keep in mind that this was not that long ago, but 7-8 years ago. But the movie Concussion came out after. I think Junior Seau committed suicide right about that time, and it's kind of been a snowball effect. But Jake had developed this product to treat concussions, and basically wanted me to be a part of it, which I have since invested in it, but the money really is not so much the issue anymore. It's personal. I personally, I get asked a question about concussions. I don't feel any effects as far as dizziness, pain, headaches. But I don't know what normal feels like. I'll put it that way. But I can't say that when I forget, like we've all, at least us older, 50 or older, have had this happen to us. I had my hat on my head the other day, and I said, "Where'd I put my hat?" Oh. Now, is that a result of concussions or is it age? I don't know. I really don't know. So for me, there's this, what will tomorrow bring? I'm seeing guys that I played with, played against, suffer from various, things related to concussions. And I'm sure Wesley's like me, you wonder. So I said, I can get your foot in the door of the NFL. And he said, I don't know, brother. It's pretty tough. I said, look, I'm not that far removed. I know a lot of people. Well, I'm still trying to get us in the NFL front door. I've been told a lot of things, positive, oh, great work and all this stuff. But then, I'm getting the hand. Because they don't want to acknowledge that concussions are a problem. They keep putting money into helmets and rule changes and so on and so forth. There was a study that came out yesterday from a group in Seattle that showed that concussions are up 44%. They're not going down. I got news for you. They're not going down. The guys are getting bigger. They're getting stronger. They're getting faster. And concussions are going to happen. And one thing, I had a chance to talk to Dr. Malu, if you ever saw the movie Concussion, was portrayed by Will Smith. And he said, Brett, if you've ever had ringing in your ears, or you saw stars, or a little fogginess, you see a guy get up and shake his head. He said, that's a concussion. Years ago, that's not a concussion. Get your butt back in there and play. And that's what the repetitive effect that boxers, the jab, not the big blow, is really has a detrimental effect on the brain. So it's scary. So all that being said, we're moving forward. Jake is the drug developer. I try to help with investment and getting people on board. And it's been a tough sell. But I believe in Jake. I believe in his product. We have two products. One is FDA. That requires FDA approval. That's still a ways away. It's a nasal. You would spray it in 7 minutes. It's into the brain and treating the inflammation in the brain, which is what a concussion is, and reducing the swelling instantaneously. Now that requires FDA approval. The other is a cream, interestingly, that you rub on the neck. That within minutes goes through the carotid artery. And believe me, this is not my expertise, but it's in the brain this would be a pregame cream. Does not require FDA approval. Has passed all the human. We did a study in Dallas with youth football. No one got sick. No one, and this is more of a preventative. Will it prevent from having a concussion? Maybe, but it is. An anti-inflammatory in the brain before you actually go out and play. I believe that there shouldn't be tackle football in youth. I believe that quite frankly, they don't tackle in pros now. So why should we ask an 8-year-old to go out and wear a helmet that's way bigger than him, and the head is certainly not developed to go out and play tackle football? It's just do away with it, do flag football, and when they get to 16, and meanwhile you teach them the proper fundamentals. One thing that would eliminate bad tackling with the head is take a helmet off and say, all right, y'all play tackle football. Guys would be like, I think I'm going to tackle like this.
Rugby.
Like rugby. I think there's some things that, people go, I can't believe that I got 3 grandsons. I would not, or I'm not going to say you need to play football. Now, if they ask me about playing, I got a 9, 5, and 2-year-old. If they want to play, I'll support them. But I'd much rather them play golf. And I'm just being honest. I would cringe to see them get tackled. And you just fear what would become of it. So that's kind of what my focus is now, is to try to. Nothing the NFL is doing is in the forms of treatment. It's prevention. And we're not going to prevent concussions. We need to start treating it.
All right, some really good, strong words. We'll do 3 questions here. I'll just go left and center and right and let everyone out of here. I got one right up here. Good. Oh, it's Joe. Hey, Joe. Couldn't see you with the lights.
October 13, 2002, pretty special day. Of all the touchdowns that you thrown for, tell us what your favorite touchdown pass was.
What was the October 13th? Oh, I should have known that. Oh, that was 200 or 300 ago.
Yeah.
I really didn't remember.
Joe was counting for you.
I think the most special would have to be the one to Andre Rison trust me, this is a hard question. But the first play in the Super Bowl to check to an audible that we never check to. And if we were to check to it, it never works. Andre Rison had been with us 3 weeks. And I played with Andre in Atlanta, and you had to know Andre. He never ran the right route. He was good, but you had to kind of know that if you called post, there's a very good chance he runs corner. So I checked to a post, and I remember thinking, I wonder if he's going to run the right route. As the play's kind of unfolding, people wonder, I wonder what they're thinking. I thought, this doesn't have a chance in hell of working. And it worked. So there was a lot of things that went into that play, not to mention everybody in the world was watching at that time. So boy, did it ever work. It worked to perfection.
I think we had one right here, yes, sir.
Brett, thank you for being here today. How fluid about your relationship with Bart Starr, especially here at the end of his life?
Well, Bart, I got a chance to, of course, I knew who Bart Starr was. I mean, he played before my time. But I knew all about Bart Starr. I knew all about the Packers. I didn't know where Green Bay was necessarily, but I knew they had a lot of history. And I knew Bart Starr was one of the big reasons why they had so much success. So when I got traded to Green Bay, not long after, I don't remember a specific day or a time, but Bart and I became friends. And he really went out of his way. And for people who knew Bart, and if you're in this room and you had a chance to know Bart, you know what I'm talking about. He would go well out of his way, over and beyond, to just be very gracious and respectful to you, regardless of age, status. It's been said so many times about the letters that I received from Bart after games, win or lose. There was always a message in there. There was always after maybe a not so good game, it was something to the effect of games like this happen. It's about what we do with the adversity we face. I mean, it was always a message. Just a very thoughtful guy, and it was never about him. It was always about everyone else. And I'm just honored to have called him friend, and honored that he called me friend. So what a special person.
All right, one more. We'll take it right here. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Brett, we've always been inspired by the heart, the strength, and the excellence that you play. But I always admired just the youthful joy that you demonstrated throughout your career. For a professional athlete who's played at the highest level, I'd welcome your thoughts on the inspiration for that joy that we always saw that looked like an 8-year-old out there playing the first time.
Well, I hear that a lot nowadays, and I don't watch a great deal of football, although I do watch enough to see and hear what probably brings people to say that to me more than I hear people say, I just don't watch football as much anymore. It's not as much fun now that you're not playing. Now, some of that could be just kind of, being buddy-buddy, and some of that may be, coming from a very truthful heart. But as I watch, I do see that it doesn't seem to be as much fun. And I think just the general fan consensus is, if I were playing, I would play a certain way. Now, you never know until you're in someone's shoes, as they say. But when I got a chance to play, when I was a kid, my dad was a football and baseball coach, and that's all I knew. I had two things that I wanted to be. And they had nothing to do with doctor, lawyer, school. I knew I had to go to school because in order to get to where I wanted to go, I had to go to a certain level of school to get there. I just couldn't quit and make it to the NFL. But my goal was to be a pro football player or a pro baseball player, and there was no alternative. There was absolutely none. So people say, well, what would you have done? I was getting a degree to be a special education teacher and be a coach because that's what my parents did. So when I got a chance to do what I wanted to do, since as far back as I could remember, was it what I thought it would be? To a certain extent, yes. It was a little bit more work the older you get. I like meetings a lot less. Practice was maybe not as much fun. At times it was fun, but it's really what you make of it. And I loved what I was doing. And I said this 1,000 times, maybe 1,000,000 times. I can't believe they paid me what they paid me to do this. Because I would have done it for free. Now, maybe at year 15, I would have thought differently. But I genuinely loved doing what I was doing. I didn't like losing. I didn't like bad plays. But I love my teammates. I love competing. And the challenge that it would present, and that showed. I never said, now they got choreographed celebrations, whatever. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I like the ones where you go, what the hell, and you do something, because everyone else is like, that's pretty cool. Because it's spontaneous and it shows that there's a genuine love for what you're doing. And I think I get more of a thrill from hearing that I made the game fun to watch, exciting to watch. You didn't have to be a Favre fan. You didn't have to pull for me all the time, but there was maybe deep down inside you said, I kind of like the way he plays. And I feel like that gives me more joy than anything that I've accomplished.
All right, we have one more thing to do before we let Brett go and let you get back to what you're doing today, too. He assigned 3 footballs here. I've not done this before, so Joe, I actually need you to shout out the answer to me. So we're going to ask trivia questions, and Brett's going to throw the ball to whoever answers it correctly. How do I pick who answers the question? Like I say a question and 500 people speak. How do I pick which person?
That person right there.
Okay. Question. Brett's going to throw a football to whoever has the right answer. These class were taken from our lecture today, so the answers have been given to you in advance. What number did Brett Favre want to have when he... So who do we throw? I'll let you pick. You pick wherever you want to throw it.
These balls are actually kind of slick.
They are slippery, by the way. And look out for the chandeliers or glass.
I can't see. Nice catch.
What a catch.
That was actually intercepted. I was going to the...
We're doing it wrong, but...
We're doing it wrong?
I have no idea how to do it.
You have to give that back now.
No. Well, John said whoever gets it right, well, 400 people got it right. Some of you stole it from other people, but you got the answer right. So we'll do it this way. How many times was Brett Favre the league MVP? Whoever got it right, you can catch the football.
can't see if
I don't know where that went.
Hopefully it didn't hit someone.
You actually hit Wilson and Parcell doing a radio show out there in the hallway. It was amazing throw. Final question, and you must get it right to be able to receive the football that'll be thrown your way. How many years did Brett Favre play in the NFL? 20. No, I heard 19. I heard 20 over here.
120? Someone said 120?
120.
I thought you were going to ask, like, who caught my first pass?
Okay, that's a good one. Who caught Brett Favre? Brett Favre.
That's really a great one. I'd like to say I got a touchdown, but I lost 9 yards.
But you completed the pass.
That's a long ways over there.
Oh. We'll have to send that one to New York for review. Folks, thanks for being here. Thanks to Martin Marietta, WBT. All of our Touchdown Club sponsors. October 31st, Merrill Hodge is here. Give it up one more time for Brett Favre.